Hello everyone, Sportive Mechanics, it's Nicholas. Today, I'm in Spain to present to you this new Honda NT 1100 or 1100 version 2025. This motorcycle has undergone minor enhancements. A few small issues you might criticize have been addressed and improved. We'll run a full channel test including auto, motorcycle, car, scooter, bike and more. For all rolling objects, we conduct thorough tests in various conditions and analyze the results, followed by a brief review. Honda is a popular brand that we have frequently reviewed on this channel. I quite like it, I've had two, and currently have a Forza 125. I like the reliability and ease. We'll see if this one is as easy and as good, knowing that this is different from what I've owned. It's a twin cylinder that's taken from the Africa Twin. So there's a single cylinder, there's a twin cylinder, there's a four cylinder. Some even go up to 6 cylinders with several types of displacements. The same engine as the Africa Twin here. So an inline twin cylinder that gives a really special character to this motorcycle. It's a 1084 cubic centimeters engine, which produces 102 horsepower and 112 Nm of torque. We have a torque that has been slightly increased on a lower rev range to precisely pull a little better. Compared to the old version, we had a quite light restyling. We will see it especially in terms of aerodynamics here at the level of the front lights, and 2 or 3 little things at the back as well, just like on the bottom, because there were developments to be made. It starts from 14,749 euros for the manual version, and it also exists in dual clutch transmission box. It's a bit pricier, it's sold 15,749, with the dual clutch transmission box even more. Controlled suspension with dual clutch transmission is mandatory and costs 16,749 euros. So basically, the all-inclusive option, knowing that it already comes with this pack of suitcases on the sides, the top case, however, will be optional. We have a small travel pack, which therefore includes this additional top case of about 50 liters. The small bag on the tank and the lights are positioned a bit lower. It's an extra pack for this motorcycle. Whether it's in manual transmission or in dual clutch automatic transmission, that's what they call the dual clutch. It's 6 speeds in manual, 6 speeds in automatic. We also have the regulator on this motorcycle. No adaptive regulator like some slightly higher end machines do. And the regulator, we will see that for a motorcycle that is made for the road, it's pretty good. We also have several optional packs. For example, the comfort seat that I recommend, given the test I did, because the seat has evolved, but the comfort is really more comfortable. It will be available in 3 colors, in black, in blue like this one, and this new gray, a bit champagne, dark metal, which is pretty nice, which goes with this car. I was going to say with this motorcycle. For everyday use, the blue, I find it very pretty. One could almost even believe in a blue a little bit. Police. It has some style. I like the glittery blue. This motorcycle measures 7 feet 3 inches long, 2 feet and 10 inches wide at the handlebar, and 4 feet 4 inches high. With this bubble positioned at the highest, it weighs 238 kilograms. The automatic gearbox version weighs 22 pounds more due to additional mechanical and electronic systems. They place themselves on one side. On the other side, there is no longer a selector or handle. With a bit of precise mechanics, it ensures everything is taken care of and works well. It has already existed for quite a few years. The dual clutch has existed on the VFR for nearly a decade, being the first model equipped with it and thoroughly tested. We now find it on the XADV, the Africa Twin here, and on quite a few other motorcycles. And for everyday use, once you get used to it, it's a bit like cars. Once you've tasted it, you don't want to go back with a clutch on a sports bike where it's totally different here for an everyday bike to go for a leisurely ride. I must admit it's still a real plus. Let's start with the front of this bike. What's already changing is this bubble here, which is different. And off we go, these little deflectors that reach much further, which normally are supposed to improve comfort for the driver. And we say that for the passenger, so I will ride without a passenger today. But the first thing also that changes is this, it's I have a small pull here that allows me to move my bubble more easily. I admit that when I was driving, well, it's much better than the old version. It's because I found it more practical, because it catches a little bit. But we have 5 rows, the first one there, the second one there, the third, the fourth, and the fifth, all the way down. All the way down, it's good for the summer, we want to get a little bit of air, we ventilate. Then when there are bad weather conditions. And we can see that the angle of the bubble also varies. When I lift it up, it goes up and vertical simultaneously, making it jump a bit higher. We will talk about this again since at high speed, the high position is not necessarily the best idea. Follow the test closely on the road. There are small perforations to allow airflow and ensure proper circulation. Wind tunnel experts are working on this. We'll see the results. Then the evolution here, it's there, it's fire. Notably, the side indicators are now absent as they are integrated as LED lights on the upper parts of the daytime running lights. Here, I also like that it's symmetrical. For example, here we have both lights on for the crossing effect, both lights on for the high beams, so as we can see, it lights up everything. Simultaneously, it's symmetrical. I dislike when just one side of the bike is illuminated. We lack lights, illumination, and intersections, but the turn signals automatically switch off after completing a turn. We can turn it on or off for those who like it or those who don't. Those were the main things happening right here. We'll talk about the rest on the side, which is evolving a little bit. Just like with the mudguard, then a slight restyling at this spot, and also the air intakes that will change to bring in a little more air precisely to provide more torque. They also recalibrated the engine's camshaft. When we move to the side of this motorcycle, there has been evolution in this mudguard part, which is longer than before. Because users have reported water backflows a little bit everywhere, so we still have these parts that protect at the level of the legs there. It's the same, these parts that protect well. Notice the indentation on this side. When driving, even at high speeds on long trips, there is minimal airflow at leg level. And I admit that we drove. It was rather hot today in the south of Spain. I do not feel the heat of the engine also when I drive. And that's quite good compared to other places where it can be hot at times. Here, it was rather pleasant, even when stopped. So it's well ventilated, this part of the one that prevents everything from being dirtier than before. So we have a little bit of blue, a little bit of plastic here, an inverted fork, 43 millimeters in diameter, and we have in travel 150 millimeters at the front, 150 millimeters at the rear. I'm testing the version with adaptive suspension, which adjusts based on the selected modes. Depending on the customization you have, we will have soft, medium, and hard front and rear adjustable independently, and adjustable preload on the rear as well. If you want to add a passenger, and depending on the weight you carry. At the front, no preload adjustment, but also automatic compression relaxation adjustment. And it will also adapt depending on the speed at which you are going to ride. We have a 6-axis inertial center in this motorcycle, which allows us to have traction control on the angle, ABS control on the angle, and also in a straight line. The motorcycle's automatic gearbox will play a significant role as everything is interconnected. It will know if I am changing gear when the person is turning, and then it says, no, we will stay on this gear. To roll precisely without losing traction or encountering other issues, it's well executed. Evolution of this dual clutch transmission gearbox, since before it was a bit jerky at low speed, there were jolts and other things. Now, it has been completely smoothed out because they have put in a different oil, with a sensor, a different algorithm that allows us to have more flexibility. We feel like we're playing with a clutch at low speed, which is quite pleasant. In terms of rims, we have 17 inches at the front, and at the back stick rims, they are in black. On all the versions I've seen so far, we have 120 at the front, 180 at the back, with Metzeler Rotex 01. The grip is pretty good. We tried a little bit in all conditions. We went up in the mountains where it was a little bit wet. It's quite accurate, considering we still have a 524 pounds motorcycle. In terms of braking, we have radial Nissin calipers, 4 pistons on each side on 310 mm discs. We have good braking, we have a good bite, it's not too aggressive, it bites well, it's progressive. At the same time, I found the braking to be quite constant and pleasant, and even in terms of feel, quite good. So, 2 floating discs, and at the rear, a disc with a monopiston caliper from Nissin in 256 NMAs for the rear part. While we're talking about the rear, the transmission is different from the Africa Twin because, as I told you, it's the same engine that's used, but we have 2 additional teeth at the rear. The Africa Twin, it's a 40 here, it's a 40 inside. On this side, we find the brake pedal in a single metal piece. And on the other side, nothing, since it's a dual clutch transmission box, no jamming lever, and also no foot control, since everything is done with small triggers. It's electronic. The exhaust that comes on the side is also changed compared to the other engine with a slightly different sound. Here we find a frame all in steel with the rear parts as well, the footrests, here full metal. The driver, however, has a little bit of rubber to dampen the vibrations. Because a half-cylinder engine, it does vibrate a little bit. with, on this side, the coolant at the foot level. Here, we don't have a cable, but this engine does exist with a manual transmission with the clutch control, all that. This part on the side has been revised with NT found here, but not marked as NT 1100. For me, I believe it's marked. Nowhere is the displacement of this engine. This part has also been revised because the saddle has also been revised. So here we have 3 small facets. Rather than something round, it's to play a little with the light and give relief to this motorcycle. And the seat has been hollowed out because the seat is 820 millimeters. So I measure 1.80 meters. Needless to say, it's quite easy. I have my feet flat on both sides with my heels down and my legs bent. The saddle has been hollowed out here specifically to bring the legs closer together rather than having the feet spread apart. This also affects the height of a saddle because you can set a saddle a little higher, but if it's narrower, you'll more easily have your feet flat on the ground. So that plays a little bit, that's the standard saddle. The rear was slightly widened for the passenger. We will try the comfort saddle also during this test at the end to see the difference. So here, from this side, this is my position here. As I was telling you, the air passes well on the sides, even at the feet level. We have small deflectors that keep my shoes from getting soaked, even if it rains. Even if it rains a little bit here, my pants won't get completely wet. And it protects well. Just like the bubble goes up high enough, as you can see, when I'm like this, it goes up to about the level of the helmet visor. Normally, we should be well protected from the weather. Normally, it shouldn't rain. We'll ensure all goes well during this test. The tank itself, here we have 20 liters of gasoline. We can put 4.1 liters of oil in the manual engine. When it's a dual clutch transmission, 5.2 liters of oil. Small change, the announced autonomy is about 400 kilometers. We consume on average 5 liters of what is announced. But we will see that this is roughly what I also did. Very practical suitcases that have also evolved. This time we can put a helmet on each side. That's pretty good. And the top case, which will be 50 liters, will be linked. We can optionally wear a helmet without issue. It's best to show you a helmet. However, what is necessary is to remove the key each time, so we cannot leave this part open. You absolutely need to have the key on it to be able to open it, so it's the same. We have a little safety feature. When I close it, if I open it like this, it doesn't open directly. So it doesn't fall. I have to revalidate it with a notch. Then there is a small luggage compartment here inside with a small bag it's rather good that we can fit here. Also straps, which allow us to place something. And does the helmet fit on this side? We will see what I told you from both sides, and the helmet indeed fits on this side. While we have one exhaust, this one is a little more compact than the other side. The intercom has some room on the sides, protruding slightly. These helmets aren't the biggest, but most will fit. One on each side is good. The little bag is useful if you go for a ride. The advantage here is still being able to fit the bags. However, I removed the key and at that point it is really locked. The same thing on the other side. Honda told us this because when you have removed your key, you are sure that the bike is locked. No one can steal it from you. Why not? I can't open both cases simultaneously without 2 keys. The suitcases are also painted body color, so the blue here that we find with the Honda noted at this place, we have the Honda logo right here. A simple reminder, when I'm going to position myself at the back, I'm going to put the center stand on, because yes, it is also offered here with a center stand. However, it's a bit poorly placed. I have to put the footrest away here because otherwise I get it in the foot, well in the shin, and then hop, I raise it. Center stand remains advantageous for storing the bike, even in the Paris region. I live so that people don't knock it over. I do this, hop, I go up here, I come there. So Nicholas, 6 feet tall. When I'm sitting at the back, I spread out a little bit. I'm not very wide, and I feel that if I spread my legs, I touch these parts a little bit. So if you have a concubine or a co-pilot, don't hesitate to get on the motorcycle first. See what it gives in relation to your position. Otherwise, if I move forward a little bit, I feel it less. But when I'm going to move back, I feel these metallic parts a little bit at the thigh level. So maybe if I ride a little bit, it's not bothersome. Maybe after several hours, we'll see. To get on my tiptoes, I have to lean forward. I wear a size 44-45, which is rare for passengers in the back to have. Sitting down, it works if I get a little on my tiptoes. Afterwards, I will be blocked a bit here by the suitcases. But the hop cuddle, I can hold on to the tank. We're not too bad. And this saddle, yeah, not bad. They widened it a little bit. Actually, if I'm leaning forward to give a big hug to the one who's driving me, it could be pretty good. The advantage of having the top case is that we can lean back comfortably thanks to the included small backrest, which is quite convenient. In terms of ground clearance, we have 17.5 centimeters, which should normally allow us to go up and down curbs quite easily. It's not made for off-roading, otherwise go straight for the Africa Twin. However, the fact that the bike is not very high and that it's more of a tourer bike, because MT stands for New Tourer, we'll quickly scrape the little nubs here, though I'm not a fan of scraping them. But we can see that if we put a little bit of angle and want to ride dynamically, we can come and wear them out a little bit here quite easily. On the motorcycle's back, there are removable cases that can be detached if not needed. But it's delivered in any case with as soon as you buy the motorcycle. An LED light here and conventional LED turn signals. A small license plate holder device that brings a bit of design and a bit of aero, a bit that we find on the new Hornet. Very simple license plate holder. What can we say here? On the back then, so the tire, with this design on the medial air, they exit with double exit directly into the cartridge. Would you like to hear a little bit of the sound? Come on, I'll put you back there. So this characteristic purring of the twin cylinder, it sings a little bit. We still have a motorcycle that is 1,100 cubic centimeters, so obviously we hear it a bit. Let's move on to the tour of the motorcycle. So this is what it looks like. When we're really live, I find it's always nicer. I do it for you on a motorcycle, as in a car, so you can really understand the proportions also when we move. So we really have this road motorcycle side, the nice suitcases, all that. We're heading up to the mountains over there. It'll be pretty nice, you'll see. Around with, therefore, this very wide side of the suitcases there. The top case support here features small rubbers to reduce vibrations. That's what it looks like when we go around. Now we'll focus on what's happening on board. As I mentioned, the saddle is slightly more hollowed out and wider. This place here, it seems a little soft, but I admit it's not as soft as that when I come. Here. We don't have a system that leaves, so you will have to insert the key. Same at the tank level, the little thing with the key right here at the handlebar level. The handlebar itself is mounted on small block cylinders right there, which allows us to have a reduction in vibrations. The handlebar was a little bit forward to have a slightly forward position on this motorcycle. The mirrors, we have a very good rear view, are simple, basic. The windscreen, as you can see, it normally goes quite high, should also offer good protection. We have the parking brake here, as we have an automatic gearbox. We can't put it in first gear, so this allows me to activate a sort of handbrake. It's a little bit lower. I'm going down a bit of flexibility right here. So that it's a caliper that basically serves as a parking brake. The caliper at the top, that's the brake, so that one up there is the real hydraulic brake. And here, it's just cable. To be able to park like this and prevent the motorcycle from rolling, for example, if we are parked in a door. So here, don't forget to deactivate, but in any case, you will have an indication when you put it on. Go ahead, we have parking brakes here. Activate like on a car, disappear so the tank is rather well cut, as I said when I put my legs here. Look, the fairing passes well wide on the sides, so the wind. Let me tell you that if you squeeze your thighs well, you will be quiet at the fork level. I mentioned it was a controlled suspension. We then find the small cable on this side is also on the other side to adjust the rooms and cartridges inside. To play on the rebound and compression, we saw that the handlebar, a little bit sporty. Here, what's good is that you can attach your cameras, your mounts very easily. There is no cover on it. That's pretty practical too. It reduces costs. But I find it practical and I prefer when it's a bit naked like that. On this side, we have the Game Boy, as we usually find on these motorcycles, which have a 6.5-inch color screen that is touch sensitive. which will allow us to scroll and change the modes. The motorcycle display is in English with options for tour mode, urban mode, and rain mode. We also have user mode 1, user mode 2, so user 1 and user 2. These are modes that you will be able to customize. Basically, these are the custom modes, and we can adjust the power here. The engine brake is the engine brake, so the motor brake, the T is the traction control, and this is the suspension right here. Then we will have contour. We can also customize this screen to have more or less information.
We have the temperature right there. Here, the time and Bluetooth, we can connect our device.
We have the speed written here, the engage gear, the gas tank, the temperature at this spot, the consumption I've made in liters, the average speed, the average consumption. In this test, we have covered 117 miles up to this point. Then, on this side, we will have the small triggers. This is the minus to change gear here, less, and the plus, which is located behind there. Plus. So I drop my gears with my thumb, so I downshift, and I shift my gears with the trigger. Behind, the headlight calls right here, the high beam. Up there, headlight call, high beam, right here. This will allow us to navigate here. So, with the menus, pick up the phone and use the voice command. Here we have the function key, so we can adjust, for example, the volume that is displayed right here, or when I press the function key, which is on the other side there, for example. This allows me to adjust my heated grips to 5 positions thanks to this little trigger. So here I activate the heated grip. I will go to the heated grip menu. I heat up or I cool down. Then here we have a customizable button with the star button, the back button here. Enter the menus, navigate left, right. So here, for example, you can see that we change the menu from left to right. The back button just here and the button to go inside. The horn itself, or the one that blasts your ears, the warning button here, very important when doing urban driving. The turn signal, which is positioned just below and falls well under the hand, which is right next to the trigger to fall. The ratios are not bad. I go up and count ratios, then double them. The mirrors are secured with basic supports. As mentioned, the 2 deflectors on the sides are clearly visible. The bubble needs adjusting. Here's how we do it. However, while driving, it's not always practical since we need to relax our grip on the other side. We have the function button here, which will allow me to activate the heated grips or the lights here. If I have long-range lights below, should I set them to auto or not? That's it. And the sound, then the circuit breaker, the circuit there, and start. Start. The engine start. Then here we have the gearbox with the regulator. Once activated, the small regulator layer is visible. Here I will be able to go more or less for speed, and there it's the neutral gearbox. I'm already in neutral. For example, I engage the drive, and there I have switched to first gear drive. I can switch like that and drive in automatic mode. Pressing the AM button switches between auto and manual mode. In manual mode, the D disappears. And then this time, I can shift gears with the trigger. Since I'm not driving, it won't shift gears for me. But then I will have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 here. Second thing, we have the D or the S. If I press the D again, no, it doesn't work. I first have to press automatic, then I press D or S. There, it will show me the menu. Here, the gearbox in S mode, there are 3 sticks. As you can see, if I keep pressing this S button, I will then switch to S3 or S1. The speaker mentions S2 or S3, which will play next. On the gearbox and its behavior. Will it pull the gears further to be able to drive more sporty or a little less the drive? Given that it will really be a version in bulk, the mode. I shift gears as quickly as possible so that it consumes as little as possible, that we are low. In the rounds, sport mode pushes a little bit more, S2 plus S3 plus plus. And then you can do it manually and push it to the end of the regime.
So this is what this screen looks like.
So do we have little things like that? No, we don't have that. So from memory to enter the menus, darn, I just reset the trip. That's not at all what I wanted to do. Luckily, the 2 is still there. They had reset everything. It would give us an idea of what we will do today. So the menu, I can't remember how to get into the menus. It was at the bottom. That's the menus. We hold down and we get into the menus, the combined menus. Information. Don't move. I'm going to put it in English for you. It will be easier, in my opinion. General units language here, French, we are French, we go back, and we get here, still back. We have the display, general service, Bluetooth, connected services, and regulatory indication functions. That is just numbers that we don't care a little bit about. So either I do it by touch, it works with gloves, or I do it with oops. I always make mistakes with the small commands from 6 to no, it only works there. At the bottom, when I want to go in, I normally go to the right or press enter. There is an enter mode. Connect a phone. Well, here, I don't have a phone to connect, but you can connect your phone by going through here, driving information. So here, this is what I have. Right here, I redo the operation to enter the menus, then I have the phone media. So that you need to connect a phone. Is the settings function what we're going to see in user mode function? This is where I will be able to set up 2 users. So user 1, user 2, I will set the power level 1, 2, or 3, the engine brake 1, 2, or 3. So what you need to know is the power of what they explain to us. When it's 3, it means we have less engine brake power. When it's 3, it means we have less engine brakes. Suspension, it's soft, medium, or hard, and the same, so that it's for the general. Or at the front, I can adjust here, less, medium, or more. Then I have the rear suspension. I have the preload at the rear that I can adjust right here. And even if I have luggage there, preload driver machine. Okay, we can see that there are still a lot of settings. Okay, driver plus passengers plus luggage. Okay, so he must detect at that moment there. Okay, interesting user 2. I can configure my modes as I wish right here for user 1 and user 2. The journey, so there, okay, minus 3G. All right, it's maybe, for example, if you want to do something, it tells you this is what's left. Do I want the blinkers to turn off by themselves? The hiss indicator, it's the little thing that blinks red to tell you that if you don't have the right key, there's an alarm. The display, I will be able to customize the display mode several. So here, 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 and I will be able to customize in each mode. For example, if user 2, I want it with another screen. For example, this one, I will be able to set it like this. And user 1 will have this screen here. But if, for example, I want 2 like this, 1 like this, and the most different, well, each mode will have its own different counter. We can see it this way, so we can customize this motorcycle pretty much as we want. Brightness might as well leave the wallpaper this way. Do I want it to be white or black? Over there, as he is in auto mode, it changes the side directly. The best is to leave it in auto. You can also choose white or black. For the day-night mode, information. What information is preferred? I admit I like my consoles set up this way. We can customize at this location and do quite a few things, such as setting the preferred HSDC switch. So, that's my little favorite touch. What do I want? I choose it like this. Then, back to the general information, including the time, distance in km or miles, and the temperature. And in liters per 100 kilometers or in kilon per liter. The volume, that will be okay, music, phone okay, so we can adjust directly here. It's rather nice to be able to change everything with the microphone, etc. We can see that it's quite advanced at that level. We've seen the languages, restore the default settings. If I want to reset everything to 0 service, that's to tell you in how much time I have my interview to do. So here there is one marked because it's the Honda motorcycles. They don't do it. Anomaly code, initialize, service mode, all that, and then Bluetooth connected, service connected. It's the same. We can do it. The regulatory indications, as I say, it's just little things, data, there you go, you know all that. What's left is to try this motorcycle, as that's where it'll be most important. We're going to discover the small region. You may recognize this place in Malaga, where we visit frequently, especially if you know me well and follow the channel closely. On the cars too, we're going to go over there, have fun. Let's go. With these new MRT, we feel with all the colleagues from all the good motorcycle magazines and others, voila, discover all this. I'm going to let it roll in front, calm me. I'm here on a stroll. We'll see what it gives. The kickstand, we pass, how it works already, arrive here and we're good. So, of course, we're going to use all the modes. As usual, here, I'm starting an urban mode. We're going to try the tour mode and others, we'll see what it gives. Dual clutch transmission, dual clutch box. From the moment I engage the DES, it's on, it's rolling, and so now we're with everyone. It should be a nice ride. I rarely do motorcycle ops. I've done a few, but I always find it pretty cool to do when we're several. The principle of the motorcycle was to go for a ride with the new tourer, was to take a main tour, nothing better. The mirrors, we are adjusted, so now we are set for 190 kilometers of ride. We'll see what it gives, the indicators that are all the way down, right next to the scooter. Off we go, we're off to the adventure. It's a little bit disturbing. Getting back on a bike with a dual clutch transmission box after a long time feels unfamiliar. We're looking for a clutch, but we get used to it very, very quickly, every time. I had taken the Africa Twin, or this kind of bike, found it super cool, so now I'm really discovering it with you. I've never ridden the NT 1100. First thing I see, I'm well forward on the saddle. It's quite refined, which allows me to be well on the front. I don't have the comfort room today, some of the other long colleagues. As you could see, we have still this engine, like on the Africa Twin, so it's not a 4-cylinder. I've always preferred 4 cylinders, especially on road bikes. But it also has its charm, with precisely these slightly specific vibrations. And this aspect, there is torque, it's also enjoyable. The brake is well placed on the left. I have nothing, so my left foot, and these are witch feet, but I can move it up and down without having to touch a selector. That's rather pleasant. And for the city, just to take care of the brakes, which are on the right side of the motorcycle, the front brake with the right hand, the rear brake with the right foot. It's pretty well placed. It's quite wide, so it gives me a good feeling, even if I only brake with the rear brake.
I like to just slow down when I'm riding, not too fast like that in town.
Used a little bit. The rear is very easy to take along. You can really feel it. It's a road motorcycle that appears very stable, even at high speeds. I think it should be quite nice. I'm going 31 miles height, which is very comfortable. I've raised the windshield to the maximum at this speed. The feeling of being at 12, I really feel like I'm on a bike. Now, you can tell it's a bike made for riding. It's going to ride quite well, even on small country roads. We're going to go for a ride right after to be able to enjoy it. Let's not forget that we can have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto on this beautiful screen. And that also allows us to go for a ride much more simply. Create road books, for example, with Google Maps and say to yourself, well, I just have to follow. We also have a touchscreen for pressing next and other functions. That's still very, very nice. She just dropped a report on me. We're in third gear, always at low revolutions per minute S. In turns, the motorcycle tries to stay around 2,000 revolutions per minute when in urban mode. Its goal is we still have power if needed. But it's not about being too nervous or anything. It's just about having this comfort. The dual clutch transmission box was reviewed at the same time. This allows, at low speed as well, to be more flexible. As on the Africa Twin, initially it was hitting slightly. Now, they have done something with the oil system and the oil sensors, which makes it more pleasant on a daily basis. And I admit that right now I'm in 5th gear. I hardly feel the gear changes, and we can play with the little triggers if we want to then go for a more relaxed ride. As we can see, the city is quite pleasant. Not much to say. It picks up well if needed. The handle is flexible. Very pleasant then. Right now, I'm in 6th gear at 70. Hop, when we slow down, you can feel the front dipping quite easily since we have a suspension that is rather typical and compliant. In a turn, a little bit of angle here. We turn there. It seems to be easy to put on the angle. So we'll see what it gives a little later when it's going to roll more on small mountain roads, but in any case, very easy. There is torque, the same in 6th, low in the towers. As long as I don't accelerate fully, the motorcycle won't drop gear. So it's a dual clutch like you can find on any car these days. It disturbs me not to have a clutch here, to think that it's an automatic gearbox. There's the hiccup, the other one too, that I had tried on the CB650R and clutch. It is still quite disturbing. We still have the lever. No, it's not at all slowed down now. I'm in 3rd gear. It's picking up. It's not too bad, right? Not on small country roads at 70 high bubbles. I am 1.80 meters tall. At that moment, there is very, very slight wind which hits the helmet. Otherwise, just before, I couldn't hear anything at all. We have the handlebar mounted on block cylinders, which normally allows for less vibration. So indeed, I do feel a little bit. But let's not forget, we are on a motorcycle. This engine, this big twin cylinder, has exactly that. It's kind of specific vibrations. It's easy to handle. It's very pleasant. It picks up well. We're already at 90. Let me tell you, it's so easy and I don't feel like I'm forcing at all. And in addition, so that's it. The advantage also of large displacement is that we have torque, we have responsiveness, and that's exactly what it allows to drive at a good pace quite easily. So here I'm in urban mode, as I was saying. It won't drop the gears very easily, and the same when we're on the angle. They made sure to set up the bike so that it doesn't drop or shift gears when we're in a turn. Thanks to the inertial center, however, there are times when it's maybe a bit low in the turns, and I would have slightly liked the bike to drop a gear. So there, on slightly faster curves, it's quite pleasant and easy. You feel that we're a bit high. At first, it takes time to orient yourself. Motorcycles are not necessarily the ones that impress me the most. Which happens when you're in a turn and you have to lean as much as possible, but it's okay. It's done well. It's very pleasant. However, if I want to drop a gear, really put the handle in the corner. And then at that point, it's going to drop 1 or 2 gears, but it's going to shift them back very quickly if I wish. Then after, I can switch to manual and make sure that it's me who chooses to be able to manage my gears at the moment when I'm going to let it do it. In urban mode, the suspension is also adapted. Then I can change, for example, switch back to rain mode, user, or the tour mode which gives it more power, which is made precisely for this prophet to enjoy a little more, which will be, in short, more a kind of dynamic mode, the tour mode. However, it's very pleasant on the angle on these kind of small roads here in Spain, near Malaga. It's very nice. At the front, we have a brake. So there, I tried to slow down a little at high speed. We have a good bite from the start. We have a good attack. So don't forget, we still have a big brake. There, I purposely go through the small anomalies. Well, the suspension remains quite comfortable. What I enjoy most is spending time with friends like this, which is also why I love motorcycling. Being in a motorcycle club was quite nice at the time. All right, I'll step it up a bit more. We have 102 horsepower, so it allows for good acceleration at higher speeds. It becomes fun, and it's true, the engine is very smooth, but it's not aggressive. And if I try this time, switch to manual, drop the gears, for example. I've switched back to third person, but you can sense a totally distinct behavior. Like always, when we're in high revs, even if I shift down to second gear slightly, it's something else. So now we start to roll on a smoother small road, just did a little bit of some turns. The motorcycle is quite pleasant. The motorcycle will always make sure to be quite low in the turns, to prioritize fuel economy in almost all cases, so it will stay low. In the turns, so there, I was more on the tour mode, so which normally corrects this suspension a little bit. As I was saying, we can play with the triggers. Let's not forget that we also have regulators on this motorcycle, the UP, for example. I'm driving 90 on a small country road. I love it. The regulator is a great invention to avoid losing your license. For long journeys, such as on main departmental or national roads in France, is typically straight ahead, as is common in the country. And there, the regulator, I find it super pleasant. For example, at around 90 kilometers per hour, 3,000 revolutions per minute. I admit, following people like that is quite comfortable. We lack the adaptive regulator that's starting to appear on some motorcycles. But I can then go down thanks to the little trigger right here, quite easily. The speed, for example, we've gone to 80. It's quite easy to do, and I admit that it's rather practical. Front brake. If I brake harder, you can feel that there's bite, there's power. And it's quite pleasant for those who like to drive dynamically. Even the dual clutch transmission gearbox has become super smooth at low speeds now. I admit that's an advantage for maneuvering, driving in town, or passing between cars. Before, it gave me little jolts. And it's true that now it has become much more pleasant at low speed, even when we're not revving up. In fact, it's going to act just like if you had your clutch lever, whereas before it was more. I'm activating assets, and it does make a significant difference, in my opinion. To restart, in rain mode, for example, there, I was still a bit throttled in the corner. Not at the max of the max, but you can still feel in rain mode, it greatly limits the power. So for example, if you lend your bike to someone who is just starting out, you can put it in rain mode, it almost does make it an A2 bike. Let's say the cave of one here again. Yeah, no, it's not uncomfortable, it bounces a little bit though. Then on the road, there's not necessarily a big bump. When we're at 110 or 130, it's better that it filters out a little more the big anomalies, isn't it? Instead, it's preferable for it to filter out minor anomalies more than major issues. Be careful some roads, because as there is a lot of sand and dirt here, it can be a bit more slippery than at our place. The automatic gearbox side, the gear shifting extremely well high school. I find it very pleasant. It still boosts quite a bit. Even in rail mode, the motorcycle is well balanced. I'm good on it. Even on heavy braking, it's quite pleasant. It closes back up. Here, I'm going to switch back to the most powerful tour mode. And indeed, it's something else. As soon as we start to pick up a little rhythm, it becomes more enjoyable and the motorcycle leans into the angle quite easily. I like it. It's rare that I ride a motorcycle in November. Maybe I should consider moving to Spain. The weather is nicer here now. We have a little road and will be filmed, which will make some nice shots for us. I'm not sure what we did on the motorcycle O-piece, but it's quite pleasant. I switched to manual to see what it gives, also with my little triggers. Right here, the gentleman who's waiting for me will give me my go and hill climb race. No, I'm kidding. We're going to take it easy. Come on, let's go hop. It started first, second. So even if I'm in gear, the motorcycle is still very smooth when I pass. My report is still very fluid. And I don't feel at all really a good dual clutch gearbox when I downshift. That's nice. The advantage of being able to play this time is that I have more engine braking than when the gearbox is at the bottom of 5 or 6, for example. There, if I want to give it a jolt, I can. And then to re-accelerate and the HAP2, and even in a turn, as we are an inertial center, it knows that I am on the angle, so it will not give a sudden jolt. And for example, hop, I brake hard, I can drop my gear and then get into my turn quietly or there, but it will rub the feet very quickly. I start to get a little carried away and hop, I feel. The foot that comes to touch, I stopped at the limit because we feel that which foot can touch quite quickly. In the end, from the moment, it was worth a hair fast. And even then, I don't want to be at James. I don't really like how it rubs like that. I'm not very comfortable. Every time I tell myself it's not normal, but with the little triggers, in the end, it's still pretty good. There it is. All the buddies have made the half turn up there. And the advantage that even in manual like this, it's pretty practical. On the other hand, if you have to back up, it's heavy though. That it goes, no it doesn't go, and it goes like that. On the other hand, the advantage though, it's this new dual clutch transmission box. Look there, at very low speed it moves very slowly and we don't feel at all like in the past. This habit, first or there, yes, I can go gently. In fact, she's really going to skate and that's pretty cool. We're going to climb a bit more with colleagues, then continue the journey. So I was advised to change modes with the box. So we tried in drive mode, we tried in manual mode. And when I press here, so I put myself in gold to remove the stand. I put myself once. If I click in drive, if I recall a second time, I switch to sport and then the sport. There are several ways to react. The S1, S2 and S3 models come with the box, offering varying levels of sportiness. So what I'm going to do is stay pressed on the S like that. I've switched to S2 mode like that. It will be the compromise between the two. And on the road, we will then try. Because it's true, as I was telling you, when we are in drive mode, the goal is to lower consumption. I was averaging 5 liters 6 earlier now. We're making small stops, etc. So now we're back to 6 liters. But on the ascent of the mountains, 5 liters, 5 liters, 6, that's about the average I had. We will try. In sport, it should be a little different. Let's see what it gives. Also, if I have a better feeling, since indeed earlier there were passages a bit too fast. And so, even in sport, I still have this ease to be able to start very quietly, and we will see what it gives then, a little more dynamic. Let's go, they're blocking our way. I indeed close to bien sport. She leaves the reports a bit more, so let's see what it gives when braking, when downshifting. Right away, a little bit faster, which gives more feeling. So on braking, she doesn't shift gears while leaning. Okay, it's become much more enjoyable this time with this sport mode, which is much more pleasant. Okay, he's going to let us push a lot more. And when braking, she said to herself, I'm going to stay in third after all, which I'll do a little stronger in second. Okay, indeed, it's rather nice, and it pushes more. And when releasing at that moment, she overtakes us. The report to him, it's good, I can pass it, he's ready to slow down. Okay, it's still much, much better this time. Indeed, when I'm in sport mode, it allows to push the gears a little bit more than in D mode. His goal was rather to pass them more quickly and say, there you go, we're just really going to drive like a leisurely ride. I like it much more this time. In the end, Mode S is much nicer and will give us more freedom. And above all, pushed a little bit more, rather than it always being down in the towers, since it's a twin-cylinder engine, well, it knocks a little bit more. So I prefer to use it a hair in the towers. So that there isn't, it's tack, 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 tack. After some are fans of the twin-cylinder, don't hesitate to share your preferences, but I only had myself. I still have a big preference for four-cylinder engines because I find it more round, it's more where we actually have very good ones. For example, on the CBs, I love these engines. I would have liked to have a bike like this in 4 cylinders. It could have been great. The braking as it is, the front braking is very nice. I like it a lot. We have a good feeling. It's quite biting, so my goal is not necessarily to lean more than that. I find that as soon as we add a little rhythm, we get very close to the foot pegs. Yeah, that's great. It's doing well. And the tour mode in the end is the one I would prefer. And so I think the tour mode with the S-Box, from the moment we want to have a minimum of pleasure. Otherwise, in D, for really very quiet strolling. And there, the advantage is that it stays, for example, in 3, and if, for example, I switch back to D, it immediately passed me. The 45 is actually the D. It's great if you really want to stroll very quietly from the moment you have this kind of road. Well, the S mode will still be relatively recommended to take a little more pleasure to make this engine heard. And it's true that in addition, with this kind of road as we have here, we are not very far from Malaga, in the heights of the small roads that lead to Ronda. It's still pretty nice. They let me change my motorcycle this time with the top case at the back there, the small bag here in front, and the comfort seat, which indeed seems with its name more comfortable for the person behind. See, following the drive bodies. Let's go. It seems to be down there. I close, let's go. So there I am. In what? I am in user mode of, that is to say that one of my colleagues had said, a little bit of world. What I'm going to do is get back into the modes. Little rain, urban holds urban. We are in urban there. Why not like that? You see a little bit better. So the big bag here, which can be very practical to see, his phone at the top, over there, we can see his screen, even if we can put it down there. With CarPlay, Android Auto. So it's true that we still have some advantages there with this motorcycle. The saddle then, it is a little bit wider, which allows me to really have a better position on it. And above all, I think it's wider at the buttocks level. You can feel it's more comfortable. And I think on long journeys, it will still be much more pleasant. So does having a top case not change much in your life? Normally, I'm going to go back. Whatever we're going to do rolling, I'm going to stay in D mode. So the mode. And as I was saying earlier, the motorcycle shifts gears very, very quickly. It allows to stay quite low in the revs. It blows a lot. Today, the windscreen does its job well, but you shouldn't put it at its highest because otherwise there, I get a lot of blast. So I'm going to try to lower it a bit, and as soon as it drops a notch. In fact, I find that I have a better feeling when I ride. So today, it's blowing a lot. I don't know if you can see it. The wind turbines are spinning very, very fast at high speed. It's pretty good. There, that one already there. I feel it after a few minutes of use. Clearly, if you have an option to take, it would be this one. The top case also remains an advantage because it's easier to store your belongings in it. Come on, we're going to insert ourselves onto a small portion of the highway right here. Because you know the channel, my goal is always to show you all types of conditions, and normally I'm the only one making this video for you. The colleague who followed us too. But there were very few media outlets available to do this, so I absolutely wanted to do it for you. Come on, we're making some progress, we're speeding up, so it's accelerating well. Here, we have a small part at 100 kilometers per hour, we get there easily. Here, I am in drive. So as I was saying, the thing is, the motorcycle, when it's low in the revs, it knocks a little bit as it's a twin cylinder. So, when we are in sixth, for example, there at 3000, if I level off, it goes a little tell. After switching to sport mode, she can sometimes a year, although she doesn't drop her report right away. Well then, we'll see what it gives as soon as it's at 120 and we can drive a little bit faster. The advantage, as I was saying, is that we have the regulator right here and there. For example, I can set myself to 100 kilometers per hour, 100 kilometers per hour. That's true, it's like the small country roads earlier at 80. It's still quite pleasant. It's easy to drive and it's rather pleasant. We're going to hit a stretch of highway at 120 kilometers. We'll see what it's like at that speed. So I can set my cruise control here. I'm going to set it to 120, so it goes up kilometer by kilometer hour, and so 120, 120. In sixth gear, I'm at 4,000 revolutions per minute. Oil pan. As you can see right here, the bubble, as it's set a notch below, it's better. There's a little turbulence on the helmet's top, but it's relatively correct and okay. If you were slightly smaller, there would be almost nothing in front. You are very well protected, so someone a little smaller than me would be fine. If you are really tall, you might have some small turbulence. On the other hand, Jean, at 124,000 revolutions, there are few vibrations. The foot pegs do the job well with the small rubber to dampen the vibrations at the handlebar level. It remains relatively correct as well. It's rather pleasant. And here in France, we are at 130 kilometers, a little bit above the 4,000 towers. But for highway driving, I find it rather pleasant. Yeah, little vibration, even at the tank level when near the legs. Here, it's very pleasant. And let's go! We're going to go here. At 130, it picks up a little bit. It's a bit torquey. And when I'm at 130 kilometers per hour on the cruise control, so I'm a little bit above. 4,250, roughly, it suffers a bit more. Then let's not forget, we are on a motorcycle. I'm well protected at the chest and shoulder level. There's very little wind. And I admit that under these conditions, it makes you want to go, take a little road trip. Still, I don't know if you can hear me well, but for me, I don't have that much wind. In terms of the helmet, apart from on top, I feel a few little whirlwinds. And I'll also let you enjoy the landscape, which is really, really nice and pleasing. If I drop my gears, I can do it easily and then accelerate harder. This bike is more enjoyable in the higher revs. I didn't film everything for you this afternoon. We are on small roads and even at high speed. It remains quite stable. On long curves, it is especially made for long curves. I find that when it's very, very winding, well, it's still quite a big baby. But on the other hand, on long curves, it's well placed. We want to take it, and it's really a good touring bike, this motorcycle. After driving 144 miles on various road types, we averaged 1.51 gallons per 62 miles, which is not too bad considering we drove aggressively at times. We had a minimum of pleasure. We did a little bit of highway, we had a little bit of taste. I didn't film the whole group. We carried on because Nicholas, the colleague settling in there, took the wrong exit. So we did a little extra bit and then we took some small roads again, so 5.7 is reasonable. If we drive in stroll mode, we should be around 5. 5 liters, a little more if we only do highway, but it remains pretty good with a 20-liter tank. As I was telling you, there you go, a little debrief. What are our thoughts on this anti-scent? It uses the same engine as the Africa Twin. It's a little bit the same thing at the level of the engine of the dual clutch transmission box, so dual clutch transmission. It's pleasant to ride. Personally, I prefer 4 cylinders over the twin cylinder. That's just my taste.
For a motorcycle, especially a road bike like this, I find that the 4 cylinders are much more pleasant, it's smoother.
Its way of riding, of being low in the revs, it's nicer than that, which hits a little bit. Then it's the character. And a lot of people like the twin cylinder for that because precisely there is this side, the drunk characteristic, all of which makes it the same. When someone starts it, we know it's a twin cylinder. It's a big engine, it has torque, it's linear, so it has a different philosophy from a 4-cylinder. There are people who like it, there are people who don't. Me, I would have preferred a 4-cylinder on this kind of motorcycle. Maybe that will happen, knowing that the Hornet Melee is coming. And it may be declined on a kind of road bike like this, with maybe an automatic transmission. For me, that would be the top of the top, the ideal, a 4-cylinder inline. Those are my favorite engines. The 1100cc engine is more compact and consumes less fuel. Like that, which we find with 2 pistons next to each other, it's more compact. Afterwards, when driving, what's good is that it's well protected. You feel very little air. You have a driving position that is quite good. I highly recommend the Comfort saddle, at least for myself. Being 6 feet tall, it doesn't bother me that it's a bit wider. However, it's really much more comfortable. If you want to take the top case, well, it's still an advantage to be able to put something here and have additional storage. The control suspension, it's still a good thing. It's quite comfortable. On small defects, on large ones, you can feel that it's a bit firm. We have the USB port on this side, which I didn't show you earlier, and the 12-volt socket, which allows you to connect your CarPlay and your car order. That's pretty good. The screen is very readable. The regulator, I think it's a good thing. In summary, it's still a good motorcycle overall. The little thing, as I was telling you, is the bubble. Putting it a notch below that I discovered thanks to a colleague who told me, and indeed, it makes a radical difference. Maybe if it had been higher, with a part of hair like that, it would have made the air jump a little higher and it would have been more pleasant. At high speeds, like 130 on the highway, we still experience some engine knock. Even if it's reduced, the difference is noticeable. Small air eddies cause slight discomfort on the helmet. I would have changed that minor issue. Otherwise, good bike with a comfortable room. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you have any questions in the comments. I'll see you soon for the next test. Bye.